the defensive coordinator. When you look at the names that are coming up for defensive coordinator, the top two on the list that I'm hearing that you're hearing the most smoke around, I guess. Obviously, Jahmile Addae is an easy one, right? An obvious one that comes up, but is Zac Alley, the co-defensive coordinator at Oklahoma, and Jeremiah Johnson, who's the current defensive coordinator at Louisiana Tech. Those are the two names that keep coming up the most. And I'll be honest with you, I'd be okay with either hire, but man, Zac Alley, I get excited. I get giddy. Number one, just getting a coach from Oklahoma is we usually lose coaches to Oklahoma. West Virginia normally loses coaches to Oklahoma. Yeah. If they're able to steal one from Oklahoma, that would be a big deal in my opinion. And here's what Skylar Callahan had to say in an article over at West Virginia SI site. He says that Alley's relationship with Oklahoma head coach Brent Venables goes back to 2011 when he served as a student assistant under him on the staff at Clemson. So he was a student assistant on that 2011 team that West Virginia boat raced, apparently. Says Alley remained at Clemson through the 2018 season before moving on to take his first position coach job as the inside linebackers coach at Boise State. After 2 years in Boise, Terry Bowden named him the defensive coordinator at UL Monroe. There's the first Rich connection in 2020 because Rich was actually OC on that staff in 2021, making him the youngest coordinator at the FBS level at 27. Impressive. He's on the fast track.
Yep.
There he met Rich Rodriguez, who was the offensive coordinator. He was so impressed by Alley's coaching and ability to scheme a defense that he brought him to Jacksonville State the following year to serve as his defensive coordinator. Alley's unit finished 33rd in scoring defense and 43rd in total defense. And then when you go down here and look at his numbers, here's the Oklahoma defense. In 2023, before Zac Alley joined the staff, they were 60th in the country in total defense. In 2024, they're 20th. Pass defense, they went from 100th to 63rd. Rush defense, they went from 42nd to 11th in the country. And scoring defense, they went from 41st in the country to 31st in the country. So he has an impressive resume. He says Alley's approach fits the exact style Rodriguez wants his defense to play, fast, physical, and aggressive. But the one thing he adds to that is the wrinkles he throws in pre-snap. There's a lot of movement, which causes the picture to change for the quarterback and often puts them in a tough spot. The defensive line will throw a lot of twists and stunts to make things even more difficult. So Zac Alley's a name to watch. And then just initially, Jonathan, what are your first initial thoughts on Zac Alley potentially being the guy?
Yeah, I think it'd be a huge pickup. I should have known this, but did I read somewhere that they have multiple co-DCs at Oklahoma? For some reason, I feel like I've seen that somewhere. So you have to wonder if that is accurate. Would he be looking to kind of start fresh by himself? Mm-hmm. But certainly those connections to Rodriguez and around him, it's intriguing. It's intriguing. So, yeah, I mean, I think that it's an opportunity for West Virginia. You know what? I'd say kudos to Rodriguez for saying, hey, listen, I'm not married to this style. I want to get the best available. And I think West Virginia fans who have went through a rough campaign on the defensive side of the ball this year, they're excited to hear that. So, yeah, Zac Alley would be a home run hire along with another name we're going to talk about. But yeah, that would be a huge pickup for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously worked on one of the greatest defensive minds in the game in Brent Venables. And you're right, he is the co-DC with Todd Bates.
Okay.
So I don't know which one of those guys call the plays, if it's a team effort or if Brent calls the plays. I'm not sure.
Yeah, and I thought I saw that somewhere. So it would make you wonder if, and I'm sure it would be, that a sales pitch to him would say, hey, come be the guy. Yep. Let's strip that title. Let's strip that co-DC title. Let's let you be the guy. And I would imagine that would be something of interest to him. So, yeah, I think him along with another name we're going to discuss, both are huge potential hires. You talk about Addae maybe coming from Buffalo, the Bills and the NFL. To me, I'm actually a little bit more excited to hear potentially another direction. It's been in the college game and has been in the trenches of the defensive coordinator positions already.
Correct.
I tend to lean more towards that's a little bit more my cup of tea than just going out and grabbing a dive, which would be essentially a recruiter / name.
Yep. And I do want to say, Rich Rod has, he said in his presser the other day, or maybe it was on in the Q&A afterwards or whatever. He has the resources to hire a high quality defensive coordinator. So it's very possible that money may not be an issue here. A lot of people, my first instinct was there's no way we can pay him what Oklahoma does. Well, maybe West Virginia can. If he's going to be the DC, then obviously that's going to demand a higher pay. Maybe Oklahoma's not willing to do it. I don't know. Or like you said, maybe it's not all about money for him. Maybe he wants to do his own thing.
Yeah.
Have his own defensive room or his own defensive, be his own guy, so to speak. But the other name, Jonathan, that you were referring to is Jeremiah Johnson, who's the current defensive coordinator at Louisiana Tech. He has a little different resume, but still fairly impressive. Spent most of his career at Northern Iowa at the FCS level, and he served a year as DC at Kent State, and he's also now currently the DC and has been for 2 seasons at Louisiana Tech under head coach Sonny Cumbie.
Yep.
And has put together some pretty good defenses. What are your thoughts on Jeremiah Johnson?
Yeah, well, a little bit more established, obviously. So if you're trying to split hairs here, one seems to have a little bit more experience. Jeremiah Johnson seems to have proven it. Was at Northern Iowa for a pretty good while. Kent State, back to Northern Iowa, now at Louisiana Tech. I just read this because it's long. What it tells me is that he's pretty good everywhere he goes, Couz, and he's stability there. During 11 seasons as a defensive coordinator, Johnson's defense is ranked in the top 10 of FCS statistical categories 29 times. We like to call that getting the job done.
Yep.
And so for me, I don't know how you want to differentiate between Alley and Jeremiah Johnson, but when I look at it, I think to myself, Johnson's probably just a little bit more established in terms of just having done it for so many years.
Mm-hmm.
And so it would obviously be a step up from him to go from Louisiana Tech or either Northern Iowa, Kent State, Louisiana Tech to West Virginia. One interesting thing we should probably throw in here with Louisiana Tech, you wonder what his availability is.
Yep.
Marshall was supposed to play in a bowl game. We talked about them earlier, taking some portal hits.
Mm-hmm.
But what happened? They had to drop out of their bowl game. Who replaced them? Louisiana Tech. So I don't know. I'll preface it by saying I don't know. Maybe there were some wheels in motion with him. And then the brakes had to be tapped just a little bit because of potentially his desire to say, hey, let me finish up here. I could probably look it up. I'd be curious to see when their bowl game is. But
it's the 27th, I believe, of December. So it's not we have a while still.
Okay. So, you know what? It's timing, right? I mean, what if he just says, hey, this was thrown on us. I made a commitment last second. I can't just bolt on them.
Mm-hmm.
Can West Virginia wait? I mean, you're kind of backs against the wall. It's kind of hard to go sell portal guys when you don't have a defensive coordinator.
Right.
Or do you want to wait on your guy? Do you wait on a guy during all these years of success that he's proven? Do you say, okay, fine, I'll wait? That's the wrinkle there with Johnson.
Yeah.
What's his availability?
Yeah.
Not stepping up from Louisiana Tech to West Virginia, but what's his availability to say, hey, maybe I'm going to just follow
Yeah.
through with my commitment. If that works, it good. If not, that's okay. And West Virginia's decision to move forward or not.
Correct. And want to say too, Johnson most recently, his defense at Louisiana Tech this year, two interesting nuggets. One, they, depending on what site you look at, have them as a top 10 overall defense in the country, or around that 10-11 range, again, depending on what site you're looking at. And then also they actually played against Jacksonville State this year. So Rich Rod has had the game plan for that defense. So he'll know firsthand how hard that defense was to prepare for. Now they did put up 44 points on them in overtime, but Rich Rodriguez is also an offensive guru. So he'll know if a guy's a good defensive coach or not.
Yep.
And I would like to think if he gets a job, a Power 4 DC job, he's gonna want to take it. You would think, but who knows? So a lot of these coaches want to be loyal to their teams, and then with Zac Alley, him being a co-DC, maybe he can leave and let Todd Bates call the defense by himself. I don't, something like that. I just thinking out loud here. I don't know. And I may have told you the wrong date on that bowl game.
28th.
27th, I think, is Oklahoma's bowl game.
Maybe. Yeah, the 28th against number 22 Army.
Yeah, that's a tough one to game plan for. But nonetheless, Rich Rod can't wait. They can't wait another 9-10 days.
You wouldn't imagine. You wouldn't imagine, yeah.
To have a guy start getting to work, hitting the portal and all that. So my expectation is by the end of the week, we'll probably know something. Maybe even after Saturday's bowl game, Jacksonville State bowl game, maybe they're waiting until after that to start making decisions or making announcements, rather. It's possible they may already have decisions made and they're just not letting it be made public yet. Who knows? Yeah. But I do want to, those are the two guys that seem to be, based on most everything I'm reading. Mike and Chris mentioned it on their podcast today that Jeremiah Johnson is one of the top guys. I had seen it rumored on social media. And then when Chris and Mike talked about it on their podcast, I decided to go ahead and talk about it here. And I had actually heard it from some others as well, but didn't want to run with it yet. But if Mike and Chris are running with it, then I feel like it's probably safe to run with.
Yeah, and I would also note, sorry, Couz,
okay.
I think they even noted that there was maybe supposed to be a Zoom call. So in that podcast, so kudos to Mike and Chris there. But I think at last reporting, Chris had said during the bowl game, West Virginia, that maybe hadn't happened yet. So that kind of ties into, Louisiana Tech's scrambling, if you will.
Maybe, yeah.
On the bowl game, you wonder if there's a little bit of just kind of getting lost in everything. So something to watch, because I just can't imagine West Virginia, considering everything that's going on, they're okay with waiting another, like you said, another 10 days plus before they can make it higher at that position. At such an important position.
Exactly. I mean, these portal guys are moving quickly. Like a guy goes in the portal within 2 to 3 days, he's committing somewhere. Typically.
I mean, would we agree, Couz, that the defensive coordinator position is probably the biggest hire of the staff?
It absolutely is, because Rich Rod's going to have his handprint on the offense. That side of the ball, you at least know that part's taken care of with him. The defensive side of the ball, your DC, for all indications are he's going to let the DC basically be the head coach of the defense, right?
Yeah,
because that's not his bailiwick. I guess they still. That's might be an old term, but I'm an old guy. So anyway, it's not his cup of tea. He's going to let somebody else handle that, right? And then plus your DC's probably going to have to hire the staff for the defensive side of the ball. I would imagine. So it's definitely the number one priority. I don't even know. He said it is. He's made a statement. Yeah. He's made that statement himself, that it is his top priority is to go out and hire a really good defensive coordinator, and they have the resources to do so. So it'll be interesting to see who they pick. I personally, maybe it's because of the Oklahoma deal, but I think Zac Alley, because of his experience at the Power 4 level, all the years spent under Brent Venables, I think he's, even though he's really young, and even Mike and Chris talked about on their show, he might be at West Virginia 2 years and go take a head coaching job somewhere. I mean, he might be, he's on the fast track, it looks like, but that's okay. Because if that happens, it means his defenses at West Virginia were really good, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I'll take it. So I'm okay with either one of these guys. To be honest with you, I like the experience of Johnson. But I like Alley because of his experience at the P4 level. So either one of them to me are good hires.
Yep, I agree.
And I trust Rich Rod's judgment. As a guy who's an offensive guru, he's going to know what to look for in hiring a defensive coordinator, you would think.
Yep, completely agree. And we could get blindsided by somebody. So who knows? But I think we would agree that if these are the top two guys, you could split hairs on what you'd want. The young, established Power 4 guy, the more of a veteran. We could split hairs here.
Yeah.
But I'm encouraged with either one of those options.
Plus, I like the thought, and maybe it's just a thought. I like the thought of Zac Alley bringing some of those Oklahoma guys with him.
Bring them all. Bring them all.